Hi, I'm Alex, your module leader for Building Brands with Advertising. So this module will run from the 27th of September until your submission on the 9th of December. Feedback will then be returned to you by the 21st of January 2023. That accounts for the 20 working days and obviously Christmas. So if you require a version of this document in Welsh, we can get that to you, so just give us an email. Obviously, I am the module leader, but at the moment, you will still have to contact Lee. I'm waiting for my email address. So, so just contact Lee if you have any issues. We are timetabled for 1 till 4 p.m. every Monday in CAD 302. Right, let's get into the content. So, in a world of increasing abundance and choice, the brand is often the only method by which many consumers can differentiate their products from each other, particularly in fields like fast-moving consumer goods. A brand is more than a logo, it is the personality of an organisation and its products and services. As the brand develops, the message they need to convey changes too. So, advertising plays a major role in the development of a brand. Good brand advertising focuses on the real character and uniqueness of the brand. This is reflected in the tone and style of the advertising, as well as the message itself. So this module will therefore examine the ingredients of a successful brand and the process involved in developing and maintaining that brand profile. It will explore the role of advertising in the process and provide opportunities for you to develop creative responses to branding problems. So this module will commence by exploring current existing brands, what they are, the principles of how they work, and the factors and criteria that have an impact on the success of a brand. Issues such as brand value, brand equity will be examined together, with related topics such as brand names, branding for niche markets, rebranding, brand evolution, and overcoming consumer perceptions. You will study key concepts like the product life cycle and consumer life cycle, and marketing tools such as Ansoff's Matrix. If you're unfamiliar with any of these, don't worry, we'll be going through it all, so no need to panic. Case study material will be used extensively to provide contemporary examples of how the principles and theories associated with branding are put into practice. So this is a 20 credit module and we will be getting into the brief now. So your brief is a hypothetical rebrand and creative campaign. Create an identity for a hypothetical rebrand of an iconic 80s brand. As we've said, the submission date is the 9th of December 2022 and feedback will be returned the 21st of January 2023. So this project is your creative work for the semester as defined in the module handbook. So in total, this work is worth 100% of your overall grade. You will need to create a hypothetical rebrand including full brand guidelines, product identity, brand values and brand essence, USPs and examples of the branding in a campaign context. So the creative brief is you need to pick an iconic 1980s brand to complete a rebrand strategy and examples of how this would work in a campaign. So the rebrand must revive the brand for the current market and the primary audience of 16 to 24-year-olds, while also targeting a secondary audience of gatekeepers. So we'll discuss that a bit more further on. But the gatekeepers who will obviously remember the brand from the 80s. You can pick your own brand, but I've given a few suggestions here. So we have Blockbuster, the video store, and Reebok and LA Gear. They're both sportswear fashion brands. MTV, Nintendo Game Boy, Swatch and Woolworths. So your target audience, sorry, 2 seconds. Your target audience, you will need to identify your primary and secondary audience. So for the secondary audience, think a 45+ year old parent or gatekeeper who would have bought the original product and would engage in the retro nostalgia of a rebrand. And you need to develop an understanding of their needs. Use these insights then to shape your design decisions, and you should do a considerable amount of research into your target audience. Remember that research is 25% of your overall grade, so this should be reflected in your creative submission. The tone of voice, so this will be determined by your brand, product, if applicable, and target audience. You should indicate what tone you are trying to achieve and include a tone of voice brand guide. Sorry, my voice is going, so that's not great. So some considerations. You need to identify the target consumer, their needs and their relationship to the brand in a manner that will allow you to find them. If you can find them, you can reach them easily. This means that your audience already has established high quality hubs, communication networks, etc. We'll go into all of this more in depth in class anyway, but you'll need to explore this through the creation of a customer persona and consumer research. Define the core idea behind your rebrand. How will it affect the brand's missions, goals, and relationship with their customers? How will you rebrand for the current market and ensure longevity? So you're obviously remembering that this is a brand from the 80s that will already have potentially a cult following, so you just need to consider that with your rebrand. Identify the key problems your product or service addresses. So understanding your consumer's problem is how you reach them emotionally. Your ability to articulate the pain, needs, problems and desires of your prospects is the centerpiece to how much they will trust you. Your ability to come up with irresistible offers and messages, and whether or not you can get their attention in the first place. Transform the brand into something powerful and relevant by developing and executing the key brand identity elements such as a logo, brand essence, tone of voice, and identity. So the mandatory requirements, this is what you're actually putting together for the submission then. So you will be producing a branding pack that includes a minimum of the following components. Logo or word mark and or. Brand pack including visual identity, colours, packaging if relevant and mood boards etc. Brand tone of voice guidelines and examples of long and short copy. Example of branded social media and online content. And then 3 examples of branding in context. So this is just to show how the rebrand would work as part of a campaign. So it could be something like a billboard, retail space, out of home ad. Basically, you can choose for this one. And then research and development of ideas, including research into the consumers, competition, potential threats and weaknesses. And as I've said before, remember that research is 25% of the module grade, so dig deep with this. And then your assessment, so the item you are submitting will be a PDF format, 100% of the module weight, and it is a campaign to brand or rebrand an organisation among a given audience based on a brief. So obviously for this brief it is a rebrand campaign. The module aims to examine how an advertising message changes based on the maturity of the brand and the audience, to develop knowledge and understanding of what brands are and how they work, to foster an understanding of the criteria that lead towards brand success, and to provide opportunities for you to produce creative responses to advertising situations across a range of appropriate formats. So your learning for this will be involved in 3 types of learning. So contact with your lecturer and supported hours, study outside of class times as directed by your lecturer, and then study at your own initiatives. And while we understand that many students need to take on paid work to make ends meet, just think carefully before committing to anything time consuming that will impact your work. Obviously we understand if you need to work, but yeah, basically just be on top of your time management and we will make it work. So the learning outcomes. Learning outcome 1 for this module is to explain key concepts in branding and the role of advertising plays in them. The second outcome is to analyse a major brand and the development of its advertising as it matures. And then the third learning outcome is to create, understand and evaluate appropriate creative proposals in response to the creation or promotion of a brand. Sorry. Right, so through this then, you will be using a range of key skills including communication, inquiry and analysis, problem solving, digital skills, working with others and employability. I'm sure you're already aware of all of these key skills being in the second year, but if we need to go through anything, just ask me in class. And as for professionalism, obviously I'm sure you're aware, but you were expected to take great care in the presentation and delivery of your work. Presentation is skill, so be professional. Taking ownership over your work is important, and you must remember to clearly label every individual piece of work that you submit with your credentials. All work obviously must be your own, and plagiarism is handled under the strictest of university protocols and can result in withdrawal from the institution. Right, so the assignment, submission and deliverables. So your assignment must be submitted within the submission date stated and in accordance to the submission location and method required. Failure to submit your assignment on time without mitigating circumstances will result in a penalty and will be classed as a late submission. Late submission may be submitted within 5 working days of the original submission date stated. If you are late submitting your work, your assignment will be assessed, but can obtain no more than 40%, which is a pass. So it's advised that you take the full 5-day period of late submission if you are struggling to submit on time. But obviously, if you have any issues, I can't stress this enough, just come to me or email Lee and we'll work through it. If not, if you do need extenuating circumstances, you need to go to the faculty advice shop, and you might want to discuss this with the tutors, but it's not essential. Right, so the assessment criteria. Your submitted assignment will need to show evidence of meeting the learning outcomes stated. Each of the following criteria will be considered and is worth 25% of the overall grade. So each of these then is 25% research, analysis, development and outcome. So I can't stress this enough. It's, the importance of hitting each one of these criteria. So students will be expected to undertake exploratory and dynamic research, working independently or with others, that demonstrates initiative and critical reflection. So there is an expectation that students will edit their research, making rational decisions for inclusion. We're going to go through a few different types of research you can include in your submission, so no need to stress about that. For analysis, students will be expected to demonstrate an understanding of the issues and debates raised in the module and show evidence that they can evaluate and contextualise their work within a wider theoretical and cultural framework. Development, so students will be expected to identify 3 to 5 key insights from their research and analysis, which will act as a bridge to move the project forward into the development stage. So here, written and visual development will be explored and documented, enabling a consensuous pathway towards an outcome. So we'll be checking in with you regularly and we can discuss, which ideas you develop. But yeah, I can't stress enough just to gather all your research and then go from there. So the outcome then, students will be expected to produce creative solutions that show evidence of risk, ambition and originality, and take appropriate amount of the requirements of the project brief. They will also be expected to present all outcomes in the required format and to a professional standard. Right, so the assessment definitions. Feedback, I'm sure you're all aware of this, being in the second year, but feedback is an essential element of the learning process. It is more than just a justification for a mark, and it allows learners to reflect on their learning and on their current and future level of attainment. So you'll receive feedback throughout, guys. I'll be catching up with you weekly, and then at the formative assessment point, which we will discuss a bit further on in this handbook. But yeah, so that brings us to the formative and summative assessment. So the summative methods lean towards assessment of learning by evaluating and certifying your performance. So the summative is at the end of the module, and the formative is at the halfway mark, just about, and it's basically just to see where you're at, what you need help with, ideas that need developing, anything that we need to correct, it's just a checkpoint so that you are on the right track more than anything. And here we have the assessment matrix. I'm sure you'll be aware of this already, but this is the identification and investigation of the academic and cultural sources. So obviously a pass mark is 40 to 49, good 50 to 59, and so on. We will check in with you throughout just to ensure that you do your best and you're producing the best work that you can. And yeah, as stated before, you are marked on research, outcome, development and analysis. Here's just some extra signposts for any help. So if you do need help, please don't hesitate to see me in class. We can book tutorial time, or we can just catch up then. Honestly, I'll be more than happy to help, and I'd rather you come to me. If you need any additional support, there's obviously student services in the atrium, and any help with English language for international students, there's the Centre for International English. Obviously software support, and obviously, as you're aware, you can contact Lee if you need any help. The reading list here for the course, I suggest you take a look at this. And then the module evaluation. So there will be several chances to evaluate your experiences and learning throughout this module through the loop feedback system. I'm sure you'll all be familiar with the loop, but we'll go through it when the time comes anyway. And it's important that all students provide feedback, both positive and negative, to enable the course team to refine and develop this and future modules. Right, so now we'll get into the scheme of work. So this will be the subject change scheme of work for the module. I can't stress this enough, but I really advise that you attend all taught sessions. It's a mark of respect to the fellow students and the team, and you'll miss vital information if you don't attend. So here we go. We'll be in CAD 302, Monday 1 till 4, and the first week we will be unpacking the module and the brief. So we'll be having an introduction to the module. I'll be outlining my expectations, and we'll discuss the brief in detail. For those that haven't seen this, obviously, I'll go into more detail. We'll have some general discussions and a Q&A session. Then I'll explain how the next 12 weeks are going to work with deadlines, expected outcomes, etc. We'll look at some good practice examples from this module previously, and then we'll have a bit of a breakout session. I'm just going to go through, what your positives are, what you're looking forward to on the module, any sort of issues you might foresee or anything you might need extra help with, and then we'll look at what is branding. Now, I'm not sure how we're going to go for time on the first day, but if we run over, we'll recap in week 2 with what is branding. We'll discuss initial ideas and how to break down the brief. I expect you to have chosen your brand by the second week. So when we meet on Monday the 3rd, you need to have chosen your brand. And then we will be looking at rebranding for a target audience and discussing your initial ideas for the brief. So week 3, we'll review the exercise from week 2, which I'll tell you then, and we'll do branding and visual identity, and you will be given a task to identify the direction of your rebrand, and then I'll be giving you some feedback on your work in progress. As you can see throughout, there's plenty of checkpoints to speak to me and get feedback, so please don't hesitate to use these sessions to really engage and get as much from me as possible. Week 4 is the brand essence, values and brand partnerships and extensions. We'll have a breakout session and feedback on your brief ideas. Week 5 is brand storytelling and copywriting. Here you'll be given a task to start to come up with ideas for copy and your tone of voice guide for your rebrand. So as you can see, week on week, we're building on all of the requirements for your submission. So there's no opportunity really for you to come to week 12 and have not had any chance to do the work. Week 6 then is the formative feedback session. It'll just be a nice session where we give peer feedback, I'll give some feedback, and you'll present your work to date. And then week 7 will be a really good session on creating a critical path and acting on feedback. So a critical path, if you're not aware of it already, is basically a plan on how you aim to meet a target, and we'll be going through some time management techniques, and it'll be really helpful in giving you the tools to meet the deadline in the most stress-free way possible, hopefully. Then week 8 is rebrand case studies and studio time. And then for weeks 9, 10 and 11 is the next steps for hand-in, studio time, and you will just be completing your work. I still highly stress the importance of being there for these sessions, because I'm going to be there giving you invaluable feedback on things you might have missed, or if you need any more help with anything. Honestly, I can't stress the importance of getting feedback as much as possible. And then week 11 is your hand-in on Friday the 9th of December on Blackboard. So I'll be available on the 5th for tutorials and additional help, and we'll basically just make sure you're in the best position possible for the hand-in. And yeah, so as I've already stated, assignment feedback and grading, constant verbal and oral feedback on your work is given throughout the module, as well as peer and staff feedback in your presentation and feedback sessions. It is your responsibility as students to record this as feedback, but here we have the feedback sheet for your assessments. So thank you for listening, guys. I look forward to seeing you and getting stuck into this exciting brief. Bye.